drive off. Thank you.
But we still want to know, when is the cleanup going to start? Because we understand that there's a preparatory process, which is scientific and technical, and which you can explain in further detail. But it's just to give people an idea of, is it likely to be this year, for example?
Okay, there are two dimensions to this thing. For us to say remediation is starting, there are procurement processes involved, there are technical processes involved, and there are community issues involved. So for us to do any site, for us to appear in any site, we will be looking at the community preparations, which is the sensitization you've been saying, which we need to tell the people what we are doing. We need to tell them what is the problem in their area, if there are impacted sites. We need to prepare their mind as to the expectation, because there's a huge work with managing the expectation here. Some people believe that this project was supposed to be some welfare scheme where people will be rewarded by cash. Of course it's not. It is a process that is strictly geared towards technical remediation and livelihood. So we need to also prepare people's mind with regards to that. That's why we do the community sensitization, and to let them know the actual reward, what it is that this project benefit them. Then we now look at the technical preparation. The technical preparation means that when UNEP came, they did an assessment and they came up with data. They came out with parameters that were that they used for the reference. Those parameters that were determined in 2011, same parameters in 2018, are they the same? Are they still valid? Obvious thing is that we will update that database, and that is a technical preparation. So we go back to those sites and we collect further samples. And we take those samples to the laboratory and we analyze them, and we then look at the current contamination data for that site. So that's a technical preparation. Then there is the government process, the procurement process. For you to award, for you to spend public money in Nigeria, there is a law that guides that. It's called the Procurement Act. It defines the way you spend public money, so there is confidence in that process. And that is what we have done. So there is a procurement process which we've already started. If you listen to the statement from the Honorable Minister of Environment, we have commenced advertisement for remediation companies. We have commenced advertisement for water companies. We've commenced advertisement for water health companies. And for the remediation company, we've gone ahead, we've done the pre-qualification, and we've had that list published on our website. For the water company and health company, we are just about publishing the same list. What that means is that those processes have to be followed. And after the pre-qualification, there are two further processes that need to be followed. So it's a three-step process. First step process is a pre-qualification. Second step is a technical evaluation. So for these companies that we are talking about, do they have the technical capacity to do what we are asking them to do, or what they are telling us they could do? We will have to determine that. Government say we have to determine that. After we determine which companies have the technical capacity, we now look at, do they have the commercial, do they have the financial weight to pull through this thing that they say they are doing? That's the step 3. And once we have done that, the companies that have scaled step 1, step 2, step 3 become the companies of interest to us, which are the companies selected. That process is what we are hoping to conclude by the end of next month, hopefully. Once we now have the companies selected, we have prepared the site technically, we have prepared the community by way of sensitization, then we are off to go, and that is what we've been doing all this while. So that is the other part of the question.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, what I've discovered is that a lot of people have not actually read the UNEP report, either because they can't or for whatever reason. Can you summarize it for us here?
The UNEP report is a comprehensive report. It's a report that gave a set of recommendations for government, set of recommendations for the IOCs, set of recommendations for the community, set of recommendations that has to do with standards, regulation and standards that exist in Nigeria. And put together all of this, government of Nigeria implemented it by setting up HYPREP. So HYPREP may not have been the exact word of the agency that should have implemented our report, but government thought that there are similar issues across the region, so that an agency that can deal with this with a national mandate was what was provided. But in doing that, a trust fund to secure the interest of Ogoni in that was established, and that is how came about the Ogoni Trust Fund. So while we have an agency with a national mandate for the region, we also have the interest of Ogoni secured through a trust fund. So our 1 billion initial money is put in that fund, and it is restricted for use at Ogoni project for our own remediation work. That is to say that when work is to commence in other parts of Nigeria, maybe similar trust funds will also be established. But be rest assured that this particular project, the way it is structured, the way it is, the Ogoni money is secured as far as the project is concerned.
Okay, all right. Some people, of course, are very interested to know whether the situation in Ogoni land was caused by the federal government, caused by oil companies. What brought us to where we are today?
Well, what brought us to where we are today was our process, our system for remediation is evolving, is still evolving. And what we have going on in HYPREP today is the first of its kind in this country. So there hasn't been a very professional, structured process of attending to environmental issues. So our laws, our regulations, all of these things are the things that UNEP observed in the report, and they made a very clear set of recommendations. So we are here where we are because government is now improving on the way remediation has been done previously. So this is an improvement and the professional and the right way to go.
But are there any moves to ensure that the same problem does not reoccur? You know, because I mean, oil exploration and production is still ongoing, and I understand that oil companies not embracing best practices has been part of the problem, but it's not the only problem. But I mean, perhaps it's not your.
I think what it is this, we have representatives from the oil companies, but what I can tell you is that on the Board of Trustees and the Governing Council, the oil companies, they have shown absolute commitment. And maybe I should use this opportunity to invite the Shell representative to just tell us a little bit about what it is, their contribution and their efforts in making sure that this project stays on course. Dr. Vincent Wamboise, can we have you just have a chat and tell us what it is your people have been doing for Ogoni people, ensuring that this project stays on course?
And then perhaps afterwards you can tell me and ask what the federal government is doing to make sure that the oil companies stick to their commitment to improve things.
Yeah, good morning, our royal fathers and the government principal officers here present. I'd like to stand on the existing protocol. It is the SPDC's commitment to ensure that the success of the implementation of the UNEP report happens. And like we do know, is a multi-stakeholder agenda led by the federal government. We are intertwined with the processes that are ongoing to understanding the remediation practices, the technology, assessment of the sites, to have a formidable and sustainable cleanup. We have assigned to the HYPREP team a renowned chief engineer who is working with HYPREP to ensure that the right things happen. And as you have heard from the president of MOSOP, and as well as from the president of Gakote, the contributors of the trust fund have paid their portions of their contribution this year. So if you assess the trust fund in the escrow account, you will see $170 million already contributed. So this is what I can say in terms of our efforts to collaborate with HYPREP to delivering the success of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyway, I don't want to get too political, but I was going to say that, I mean, this level of pollution doesn't happen in countries where the government does its job as a regulator. And I just hope that our government is willing to play that role, that regulatory role, more vigorously in future. Okay? Now, sorry, Marvin, could you please tell us, what does pollution do to human beings? We've heard what it does to the environment. What does it do to people?
Pollution, just like it affects the environment, affects our health. Pollutants get into our food chain, and once in the food chain, it also affects your system. That's why UNE recommended a health impact study, possible link between the contaminants in the soil and disease patterns in the communities. That's a highly scientific process that you couldn't just say there was this disease is caused by pollution. No, you just couldn't do that until a very detailed study is done. But yes, pollutants that get into the food chain could affect our health. That's my response. Okay, sorry. Okay.
There's been talk of, well, can you be a little bit more specific? I mean, I know you're not a doctor, but it's quite good for people to know what sort of diseases, for example, can people who are subjected to contaminated water suffer?
There is medical evidence that hydrocarbon contamination could cause cancer.
Right.
Okay. So that is there. There are other things, but like I said, this has to be. This only could be confirmed when there is detailed study. You couldn't just assume those sort of connections.
Okay. All right. Now, the word on the streets, another thing that people keep on asking, when is the cleanup going to start? When is the cleanup going to start? I think what they mean is, when are we going to see machines arriving and doing dramatic things? But another question that people constantly ask is about money. And I'd just like you to explain how the whole money thing works. The word on the streets is that HYPREP is being very generously funded, and people want to basically know, where's the money?
Okay, the way HYPREP is structured with different governing structures, the Board of Trustees, whose job is to collect the money from the IOCs and other contributors. We have a governing council that have the power to approve our work, and we have the project coordination office that does the day-to-day implementation. I've explained this in a previous interview. It's like the project coordination office want to buy shoes. I used this recently. So if I want to buy, as a project coordination office, I want to buy 10 pair of shoes. I will do a request, a memo to the governing council, and tell the governing council, project or coordination office would like to buy 10 pair of shoes. And the governing council will sit down, they will look at my request and say, why do you need 10 pair of shoes? We think you should only have 2 pair of shoes. In any case, you should start with 1 pair. So I'm approving for you 1 pair of shoes. It is the governing council that will then notify the Board of Trustees and say, we have approved money for the project coordination office to buy 1 pair of shoes. Please release the money for 1 pair of shoes for the project coordination office. It is only then that I get money for 1 pair of shoes. So what that means is that neither the governing council, the Board of Trustees, or the project coordination office on their own could collect money from HYPREP account. So we all three must agree and approve of every expenditure before it is made. That means that our money is safe. The process is transparent. The process is secured. And I want to use this opportunity to assure us. There have been rumors out there that $10 million here, $10 million there. It is neither here nor there. $10 million initially remitted to the Board of Trustees for us to as take-off grant. The money is held at the Board of Trustees, and for every activity that we need to do in the Project Coordination Office, equivalent money only approved by the Governing Council is released to us to work. When we expend that, we give a report back to the Board of Trustees, back to the Governing Council, that out of 10 million, for example, if they gave us 1 million, after spending the 1 million, we retire that to the Governing Council and to the Board of Trustees. We spent 1 million. And they have it in the account. So for anybody that needs to know money that has been sent to HYPREP, all you need to do is approach our office through approach the Board of Trustees through our office. Board of Trustees will tell you how much money they received, how much they have given to us, and how much is the change. So every account of HYPREP is accurate, is safe. And I want to use this opportunity to assure all of us that all issues about $10 million here and there does not exist. We all have a right to know what is happening. And for those of us who are interested in how our money is spent, please approach us. We will direct you. We will give you all the information you need as far as this expenditure is concerned. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's great. It's good to know that there are safety nets in place that mean that the money is protected and can't be spent anyhow. But isn't that a rather tortuous process that contributes to slowing the process down?
Well, it's a process that throws up transparency, that ensures transparency and accountability. And if we have to do that to get the confidence